Hello, Lucy. Good evening. And I was so pleased to hear you because, like me, I'm also in a new job, like you. And we were both agreeing that it's a bit of a funny times, right?
It is a funny time. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Very, very excited, but a little bit overwhelmed, I suppose, at the moment, in a good way.
In a good way. Well, same for me. But therefore, I was also extremely happy that you could still contribute to the book because if I probably would be a little bit later, then timing would not have been right. But now it seemed to be extremely good and right just on the spot. And you actually brought a topic which, in my opinion, had to be in the book, but I could not think about anyone else than you bringing this topic forward. So you spoke about diversity, and since it's a RegTech book, I was thinking, yeah, which one makes diversity more real? Is it the rec or is it the tech?
Interesting question. I would say neither. And the reason for that is because it's not about the reg or the tech to me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
actually about how diversity makes a reg tech or makes reg tech more successful. That was, I suppose, kind of the point to the article.
Oh, cool. And well, I guess this is something that you felt in real life, and within the article, you also bring that down to data. So also there, I was maybe looking for factual stuff, which I found. So I saw that data point. So what did you exactly mean with the data points?
Well, no, the point I was trying to make, I suppose, with the data, when I talk about the data, which is definitely an area that I think I need to definitely or need to work. We all need to kind of work on a little bit more. And I think the analogy that I use or the story that I told as part of the article
Mm-hmm.
was I watched a TED talk, really interesting TED talk. I can't remember the name of the lady, apologies, but the link is in the article.
That's
But
right.
she said that if you imagine the scenario that within your organization that you had a little bit of a problem with sales, your company wasn't selling, you needed to increase sales at your organization. The one thing that you wouldn't do would be to send all of your salespeople out onto a course and teach them why sales is a good thing, why sales is good for companies. They don't need to know that. They're salespeople, they're professionals. What you would actually do is go back to the data. So you would
Mm-hmm.
look at your conversion rate, you would look at sales tactics, you would look at inbound leads, you would look at where those leads are coming from, look at who you're addressing, your addressable market. You would look at your pricing points. You would start to really, really crunch all of that data to look to how you would then increase your sales. The same for diversity. We're doing a huge amount in the industry around raising awareness and trying to explain why diversity is a good thing. I think we're at the point now where we actually need to look at the data.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start to look at the actual numbers of, where diversity is across the organizations. Start to look at benchmarking that, because it's only once we've done that benchmarking and we have the data can we look to then improve.
So you always make it an objective decision, right?
Mm-hmm. Diversity is a numbers game, I suppose. It's about the numbers. It's the inclusion part as well that we really need to work on. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
can talk about that another day.
Yeah, I was thinking you bring up inclusion and diversity. How would you see those two connected to each other?
They're connected, very, very connected, but they're also very separate as well. So, like I say, diversity is about numbers. It's about having a diverse set of opinions and
Mm-hmm.
experience and representation across the organization. And obviously, there's a huge amount of benefits which we won't go into. Read the article that it brings to an organization. Inclusion is around making sure that people are able to be themselves. They feel included as part of an organization. I had an interesting conversation actually
Huh?
today with someone about this, where they said to me that, and it's so true, they said they hate the discussions around the culture of a company. So the question is, what culture does the company have? Because actually, the culture of the company should be defined by the people that work for it. So it's not a case of you going into a company and adapting to their culture. They should be able to have an inclusive culture that is including kind of everybody from every experience, every walks of life.
I follow you. It's a nice way of looking at actually. It also No, it gives me a sort of impulse in my mind to think about it, because it is true when you think about companies, you always, there's that kind of general belief that you have to set the scene, you have to bring the maison d'être to the company, and everyone needs to follow. But in fact, it should not be, because everyone would bring his or her own input to a culture, and that builds the culture. It's fluid, right? Is that what you meant when in your title you say it takes work, not workshops?
Yes.
Is that exactly it? Did we nail it
100%.
here?
Yeah, exactly. We've nailed it here. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I suppose the workshops, yeah, thinking about kind of bringing themselves. If you are set in a particular culture for an organization, or, you have a bunch of kind of people that are all kind of like-minded, you have these workshops, and what are you going to get out of it? You're going to get the same opinion and agreement every time. You're not going to get that diverse thought and experience and different takes of things coming into it, different decisions being made. It will just be the same thing, all the time. So yeah, that's the work that needs to be done.
I agree. Get our hands dirty, right? It's like one of my favorite quotes in the past for sure was, if you keep on doing the same that you did yesterday, you'll keep on getting the same result today.
Yep, I love it. Yeah,
So
that's perfect.
it is about letting change happen.
Yep.
Is that somehow then the focus that you bring within the RegTech, the women? What's the organization called again?
RegTech Women.
RegTech Women. Is that what you try to bring also with that association?
100%. Yeah, it's about having that conversation to drive change. So one of the things we talk about, that is going to drive change, for instance, is the kind of the calling it out. It's having those uncomfortable conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We always say that we provide a kind of a safe space for unsafe conversations, but we want these conversations to be had by everybody, not just women, men as well. Everybody needs to talk about it.
Well, if you take diversity and inclusion seriously, there is no difference between men and women or any kind of gender whatsoever.
Yep.
It's about human beings, right?
Exactly.
And personally, I find that also within RegTech, this is somehow stronger than in fintech. I don't know what your feeling is on that.
Yeah, and I mean that was the whole reason that RegTech Women was formed. To be honest with you, was I've spent just over 20 years in fintech, but probably more the last I think 5 years or so, kind of working in RegTech, and I met my co-founder Sean Lewin. We'd known each other kind of through the social media scene and met at events, and yeah, both of us kind of agreed that we were, a minority, but we did know plenty of women. What was just quite frustrating was they wasn't being seen and heard. They wasn't out there speaking at events, sitting on panels, being quoted in articles or, on social media, and it was just really frustrating. So we wanted to build a platform to bring those women, to give them voices, bring them up to the floor. So that's what we do. So whenever I try and, whenever we're running webinars or anything, we always try and look for women, the ones that you don't normally kind of see on stage, but people within the industry that are doing really, really great work. They are there actually, to your original point.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, they are. You just don't see them. Yeah, but they are there.
It's good. It's good that you bring them forward, because I mean, that's for me also in the book. It speaks a lot about collaboration.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is collaboration. It's the embodiment of collaboration, and especially within RegTech, and that's maybe why I made the link between fintech versus RegTech. It is more a common objective to deal with compliancy.
Yeah.
And within the compliancy world, yeah, there is more space for that. Let's put it that way, because in fintech there is more this feeling of we have to fight against something. We have to get the business from someone, and that's totally different within RegTech.
Yeah. Absolutely, but the kind of the collaboration discussions is still kind of still there. It's interesting. We held a panel discussion, an event. I think it was just before lockdown actually, because it was face to face, and we were talking, I think it was called Bridging the Gap or something, but we were talking about that gap between the regulator, the financial services or the financial institutions, and the tech firms. You've got the consumer sitting very nicely in the middle, where the the fintech company is there to provide the software for the banks. Obviously the banks are there to provide services for the consumer, and then the regulators are there to protect them. But the three of us just don't seem to talk. It's this kind of unconnected triangle that's sitting around the consumer. And then we ran this event just to talk about how we kind of bridge those gaps, really, and how we sort of work together. But one of the things that the financial institutions said on the panel, which was really, really great, was that what they would like to see more is of this forming of ecosystems. So the more collaboration between the RegTech companies, because all of the RegTech companies are solving just a small piece of the puzzle. But if we join together, it just makes it's a bigger story to tell. It's a bigger problem that's being solved, and it makes onboarding, especially in big banks with big legacy technology and huge kind of procurement process, it just makes it so much easier.
Well, you could argue that this is exactly happening, and maybe even accelerated by COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's my feeling, at least. I feel that there's much more appetite nowadays to bring, and sometimes it's triggered because you have to, because you're too small to survive, and that now became clear because of Corona. I mean, at least the way that the sales was done, and you could go to different places because everything is now digital. So you do see a lot of M&A activity bringing those platforms somehow together. Is that also something that you see in the UK as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot more collaboration going on. I think for that reason, I think people are kind of realizing that there's a bigger problem that needs to be solved. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, because I mean, banks do like that trust, the fact that that companies or solutions providers are bigger, have more size, or less likely to fall over, or likely to exist in 10 years. So yeah.
And it's the collaboration, actually, not just between the RegTechs, but on with the financial services firms as well, and that's super important.
Yeah. Well, I was not so long ago, I did a keynote myself, and I called it Takes Three to Tango. And I meant exactly that.
Yeah. The triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Lucy, I was wondering one last thing, and I know now you have changed jobs. There's a lot of things going on, but for what reason should people reach out to you?
To be one of those voices. Like I said, if we don't talk about these things, nothing is ever going to get changed. I say constantly when I'm speaking at these events, or on panels, what I encourage people to do is to call it out, really. If you are seeing any sort of discrimination or any sort of problem with people not being included, to call it out. But that's what RegTech Women are really helped to kind of support and promote and encourage women, I suppose, or support them more than anything, to do that, to give them the skills and encouragement that they need. And that's if there's anybody out there that can help to join RegTech Women, to join us on any kind of events, provide any mentoring or anything like that, then please reach out.
Brilliant. It is really a message of empowerment, Lucy. That's really great. The world deserves more of these messages. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your contribution, and not only today in this interview, but also in the book. And I'm sure, and I'm even looking forward to the comments that we will get and the reactions we will get. But thank you again for that. Also, thank you to the listeners. There's more of these interviews in our RegTech channel, so please don't hesitate to tune in them as well. Share them, like them, make comments, and join the movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you for having a topic like this as well in the RegTech book. I think it's really, really important that we talk about it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.